Hello again, and welcome back to Wingot Plays Technological Journey. This episode, we're going to see what we can do about getting our blast furnace up and running, maybe getting our first aluminium, and using that to then get our first. Well, no, getting a blast furnace, aluminium, and using that to get our electronic processors, hopefully, because they need the capacitors here. But to start off with, something we are going to need to make the blast furnace. So we've got the blast furnace here. It's all pretty simple. We've already got the primitive processors, tin cables, heat-proof INVAR casing, so we need a whole lot of INVAR, as well as which all of these top and bottoms are heat-proof INVAR casing, other than the hatches and buses. And then in the middle, we need some copper nickel coil blocks. And the copper nickel coil blocks, well, one, they need copper nickel. So I've got some of that cooking up at the moment, copper and nickel. And they need mica insulated foils, which we've already got the mica insulated sheets. No, we've got mica based sheets, so we need to go another step there. And we also need some tin. So we're going to need a fluid, not a fluid solidifier. There's a machine that turns ingots into fluids. Let's say tin here. Fluid extractor, that's what we're going to need. So we're going to need a fluid extractor so that we can get some tin, and then we can use that tin in order to make our copper nickel coil blocks. And it looks like one ingot will make one block. So that's going to be simple enough. I'm just going to make a whole lot of copper nickel here, throw in the iron and the nickel in order to get the INVAR that we're going to need as well. And I'll be back in just a sec when those have finished processing. And I guess while that's actually processing, what we could do is we could actually work on processing our mica-based sheets here. So mica-based sheets in the alloy smelter, along with some silicon dioxide, will give us the mica insulator. Silicon dioxide we can get from electrolyzing glass dust, and glass dust we can easily get from glass in a macerator. So that's going to be the next step, is go grab a chunk of glass, possibly a chunk of sand, and then macerate that down to then electrolyze. We've got a few stacks here. I might grab some sand while we're here as well, and I don't know if we've got any spare glass. I'm not seeing any spare glass dust anywhere. So let's grab, let's say, 4 stacks of sand so we can throw those into our steam oven so that we can more than replace the glass that we're about to use up. Throw those into there, and then we want the macerator to macerate some glass as well. And then the glass will go into, I've already forgotten what it is, the electrolyzer. So all of this glass can then go around into our electrolyzer, which I feel like we probably should reorganize these machines a bit, because the macerator to electrolyzer is not uncommon, and then that produces just pure silicon dioxide dust, which then silicon dioxide dust combined with mica dust in the alloy smelter, which is currently being used, but let's just temporarily do this. That plus that will then get us our when it's done. Fairly slow recipe, and we're using up too much power at the moment. We've got 4 machines running. I think it's 4. And they're all pretty hungry machines. So there we go. It's going a bit better. Oh no, wrong one. Oh, come on. Electrolyzer's almost done. As soon as that's done, we'll let it have a break so that this recipe can finish. Let's have a quick look here. It does use 30 EU per tick, and there's actually nothing back there that's providing that much from a single machine. It might be an idea to move one of these steam turbines to here behind the electrolyzer, because the electrolyzer is a higher demand, and then we can just bring an end fluid conduit over, and then we will have better output to there. Although when I turn it around like that, there we go, and so we'll have better output to there. while still mostly maintaining that loop that we already had going. So silicon dioxide, and there's our mica insulated sheets, and we just want to basically process everything we've got in our inventory to make these various things. So that was wrong. That needs to go into the alloy smelter. Perfect. And that should work. Invar, alloy smelter, nickel and ingot, nickel to iron makes Invar, LV. Is this a power issue? Oh, for some reason that's weird. Anyway, I will be back in a moment once I've finished processing all of these things. And let's get some copper nickel wires going, because we're going to need those for the copper nickel blocks. We're going to need 2x copper nickel wires. So if we do this, we'll get a full stack of 2x's, which I haven't bothered to count. But so a full stack 64, that'll give us 8 of these blocks. We're going to need 8 per layer. So we'll probably have to run both stacks of copper nickel ingots in order to get the required amounts to make a single blast furnace. Yep, we'll be back in a moment once that is done. Our mica insulated sheets are here processing. They're just taking quite a while to process because it's a very slow recipe. 20 seconds each for each. At least you get 8, but I'm probably going to need to run more mica based sheets as well, because I very much doubt this is going to get to, it's going to get to maybe a stack and a half at most. I'll be back in a moment. And there's our 64 Invar rod, 64 Invar plates, which should be plenty. In order to make more mica insulator sheets, we're going to need more mica based sheets. In order to make those, we're going to need some more mica based pulp and some asbestos dust, and mica based pulp comes from mica and sticky resin, and mica comes from mica ore. I've just done a search through our ore stockpiles and there's no mica at all in there. We do have 18 asbestos dust sitting here, and we've got over here in our mixer just a single mica dust available. So unfortunately it looks like I'm going to have to go do a little bit of an explore with our LV tier miner and our prospector to see if we can find some more mica and some more asbestos in order to get more mica insulated sheets, because the 32 that we've got there will only get us to 40, and we need a full stack in order to 32. That wasn't 32 there. So yeah, we still need another half a stack of these mica insulated sheets to make the 16 coils that we're going to need. We've got enough copper nickel wire. We just need another 32 mica insulated sheets. So give me a moment while I go hunting for some mica and maybe some asbestos, but we've at least got enough that we should be able to do one blast furnace. And I'll be back with you in a moment once I've got that mined up. Thankfully, we don't have to mine it manually because, of course, we've got the LV chunk miner that we set up in the, well, not in the last episode, in the episode prior to the last one, which never got published because of the recording error. But I'll be back in a moment once I have at least located some mica somewhere around. And after hunting around for a little while, guess where asbestos and mica are? Well, there's mica, there's asbestos, there's a whole lot sitting right here in this chunk behind the base. The first thing that we drilled into and promptly ignored. Now let's just quickly set up here. So we want the steam turbine. Steam turbine needs space above it. So steam turbine, the chunk miner needs to be able to output. The titanium drum can put the drilling fluid there. Small storage crate, and then lastly an ender tank, which can be set to output. So it should be generating power. And now this should start drilling. interesting that it isn't immediately finding anything. So I wonder whether the chunk miner actually checks the blocks above us, because I would have thought that it started at the level that it was at and went down, but it's not yet started replacing any of these asbestos and mica here, in which case maybe it's doing the whole mountain above us. Though maybe it was just doing the same layer that it's on. Maybe it was just checking the same layer that it's on, and then once it got through that layer of the chunk, now it's moving down. Because it probably took about as long to get to this layer below it as it is taking to get to the layer below that again. Anyway, we've now got mica, gypsum, kaolinite and asbestos on the way. I will be back in a little while once we have got that. Well, so we can double it, although through quite a slow process. Hopefully this will produce a lot of mica, so we won't need to go through the slow process of doubling it and can just use it. That said, there is a whole lot more here in this next chunk over as well, so I'm sure we can get more than we're going to need. Yeah. So I'll see you all in a moment once this has had a chance to mine and and I've had some time to process the output and get the last of our mica insulator sheets that we're going to need here. See you soon. And it turns out that I made a few more than I intended to. There's a few more coming in still, and over here I've got the mica base sheets. I had a whole stack there that I'm processing as well. So interesting that I'm short one asbestos. I must have miscounted there. But processing these up, we will eventually need all of them anyway, because these are used for the foils, which are used for every different type of coil, as well as which we're probably going to want well more than one single electric blast furnace. Eventually we want supercausal SMD capacitors, but we're nowhere near that. We need micro wormhole generators, and the supercausal processor or mainframe is the final thing that we're trying to make in this pack, if I remember correctly. I could be very wrong on that, but yeah, supercausal mainframe is there, the very last tier of circuit in the Draconic Age, and we use that to make the creative ME storage cell, I think. I'm not 100% on that, but in the meantime, we of course have plenty of mica insulated sheets. Now we need to turn these into foils in the cluster mill, which I believe we've not yet made. So we're going to have to make the cluster mill, and there we go, cluster mill, perfect. So throw that into there. But the other thing we are going to need is we're going to need to make a fluid extractor. So let's go have a look at what is required to make that. I did notice there was a glass, there was a motor, and let's see what else we've got. A pump and a piston. I don't think we've got any pistons at the moment, so we're going to have to make another one. The piston, though, is just a whole lot of steel. We've got 3 steel plates. I don't see any other steel in here, so let's grab some steel ingots and we can make the rest there. And then we've got the primitive processors, a couple of glass and LV machine hole, which there we go, and a couple of tin cables. Off memory, we also need a couple of tin cables in here, and that should be it. So 4 tin cables should be enough. And then why did I think I need to come into here? Because we need a couple of glass as well. Perfect. So I will now make that piston, and then we can go back to finishing the rest. I think the alloy smelter is busy, so we are going to have to wait on making that small steel gear that is required here. But what we could do is we could make a couple of rods. Well, yep. So throw that into there. That'll give us our 2 rods, and then we're just going to be waiting on this. It may be worth temporarily just pausing this, throwing that into there, because we've got more than we're going to need here of the mica insulated sheets anyway. And then we can get that running again afterwards. Come on, cool. So there we go, that's 2 full stacks of mica insulated sheets. And if we grab that back out, throw that in there, then that should give us everything we need. So we can go like this and make a piston and then make the fluid extractor. Perfect. Now the fluid extractor, we just need to put that in here, which we run out of space on that side now, so we're going to have to keep looping around. But the basic fluid extractor, we're going to need some tin to put into there. And how to do it? We're going to need 16 ingots because it was 1 ingot for each of the coil blocks. So that should then get us our required tin, and that will allow us to throw that into there, and that will allow us to then go to the assembler, use the mica insulated foils and the 2x copper nickel wire along with this tin that we're why is that? Oh, okay, it is working. It was just a buggy UI. Cool. So we don't need any more of that. Where is it? Where's the cluster mill? Cluster mill was up here somewhere. Cluster mill there. So we want to grab out lots and lots of these, and we're going to need. Oh, I've actually made way too many of these mica insulated sheets. I think we've got 3 full stacks worth. Okay, that's going to take quite a while to process. I may set up like hoppers and sort of automate the conversion of all of these, because the only thing they use for is the mica insulator foils. But we need 2 full stacks of these foils, not of the sheets, and each stack of sheets makes 4 times as many foils. So I'll probably let that finish that stack, and then these can just sit in the sort of their compressed format, let's call it. But let's take a look here. So the assembler, we've got an assembler sitting right in here. And so let's just check. There's no circuit there. So I think it'll be fine even with that sitting there, but we can, in fact, what I could do is we can go here and just check that there isn't a recipe with a circuit in it at all. So it should be fine when we bring those over. Now, over here, we've got a power shortage, but as soon as that sorts itself out, we will get the tin processed. Let's grab those out so that the power can fix itself up. So that's 120, there you go, 128 mica foil. Perfect, and that gives us even more sheets, crazy. And then that is going to allow us to make the electric blast furnace, but we do need to recognize that there's a maintenance hatch, and remember not to try and share these between multi-blocks. Okay, so you can share everything except for the maintenance hatch. Okay. Cool. So the electric blast furnace is the next thing that we're going to look to make. If we grab one of our tanks, we can grab that tin. Perfect. And then our assembler can have the tin. It can have these and these. Perfect. And then that will create our copper nickel coil blocks. So we can leave those to produce in the background. We also, of course, need to make our actual EBF, and the EBF does require the heat-proof in-bar casings. So let's make the heat-proof in-bar casings. We've got plenty of what we need, but we're going to need the tools that we've got over here. So let's see what we can do about that. Now, so we're going to need, let's say we make 18 of these, so we need 6 of these frames. I'm on the wrong table. Which, throw that in. And in fact, let's make 12, because that way we can then make 32 we're a bit short on invar plate, so we'll go back and make a bit more of that. And there is our 16 copper nickel coil blocks. So now we just need the electric blast furnace itself, which we probably have everything we need. We need a couple of tin cables and some furnaces, which we've got plenty of those sitting over here in our blocks chest, or crate really. 3 furnaces, a couple of tin cables, and that will get us our requirements to make the electric blast furnace. And then the last thing we're going to need is we're going to need the various hatches that go with it. So this is going to require 2 energy input hatches, LV, input bus, output bus, and a LV muffler hatch. Interesting. I know that I'm pretty sure it also needs a maintenance hatch, as this is saying. Maintenance hatches can be dealt with in 2 ways. One is to have the tools that correspond to the errors. The other is to have duct tape in your inventory and press the square in the hatch. Duct tape will remove all issues. Errors in the multi-block controller in your inventory and press the square in the hatch. Again, the square is in the hatch is a button, not a slot. You don't need to drag anything to it. Just click it when you have the appropriate items. So, the Gregtech Aerospace Advanced Reinforced Duct Tape. So we're probably going to want to make some more of that, but I think let's make a maintenance hatch. So we need energy input hatch, input bus, output bus, LV muffler hatch, 2 energy input hatches, and then we are also going to make a maintenance hatch. So let's take a look here. Maintenance hatch, auto taping, full auto. Okay, so that's just an LV machine casing with every tool. That is easy enough. And we're going to need to make some more LV machine casings in order to make all of these other requirements as well. I'll make a few of those off camera, but I will see you in just a moment. Apparently I'm missing one of the tools. I don't think I've got a crowbar. I will be back in a second. And there we go. After making one of each tool, we finally get our maintenance hatch. Perfect. Hopefully that should be the hardest one. We are going to need to make a few things to make the muffler hatches there, and then all the others are just a simple LV machine hole plus one simple thing. So I'll see you in a second after I've had a bit of time to produce those. Okay, and it looks like we should have pretty much everything we need for the electric blast furnace. We just need to make this LV muffler hatch, which for some reason I don't have here anymore. But I have made the tin rotor. I actually made the fluid solidifier and a rotor mold so that we can stop using the tools to make that one. Perfect, so that should hopefully be everything that we're going to need in order to get our electric blast furnace up and running. So, if we pop over here to our LV building, then we could place the electric blast furnace. I'm pretty sure, in fact, probably the easier thing to do is going to be to keep this in our inventory so that we can lay things out. But effectively, we want a input bus on the side and output bus on the end. So let's throw one of our input buses right here and one of our output buses over. In fact, let's put it right there. Cool. And then the input, output, the electric blast furnace will go here. And then, of course, we want a LV muffler hatch, recovers items 5% of the time sharing. Okay. LV muffler hatch and a maintenance hatch. We want the maintenance hatch to be accessible, so let's put that one there. And then the electric blast furnace. Perfect. So we can close that in, and the electric blast furnace will, of course, go right here. Then we just need all of the coil blocks on top. No, because the issue is that we are going to need power. So let's do this. Let's move the muffler to the front, or yeah, to one of these blocked sides anyway. So the muffler hatch can go right there. The maintenance hatch Let's put it in there because that'll still be accessible, and then we need 2 energy input hatches. Perfect. Now the last thing, of course, we are going to need is to connect some power to that. Good. And then we need some coils and the roof. So 2 layers of coils with a empty inside, and then put the roof on the top. Oops. Good, and I think that might have formed. Let's just go. So, input bus should be right there. I'm going to remove that one for a second. It's an invalid structure. Okay. I don't know if it's meant. Oops. This is the output here. I'm wondering if it needs to be solid the whole way through. So let's do this. Let's grab the electric blast furnace again, and what we can do is we can take a look here, and layer 1 as expected, layer 2, that looks like, so it is hollow in the middle there. Oh, the muffler hatch apparently goes on top. Fine, that's easy to fix. So the muffler hatch is currently right there. Perfect. And so we get you out of the way. Give me the muffler hatch. Perfect. And then we just need to get on top of this. And then this block here becomes the idiot. Good. So, muffler hatch goes there. The couple of copper-nickel blocks go there, and lastly, the electric blast furnace. Well, I've not filled that space yet, so that can go there, and then the electric blast furnace can go right here. Muffler hatch is obstructed, perfect, and I think that's because the muffler needs to be pointing at the roof. Perfect, and there we go. So hopefully that will now mean we have a working blast furnace. Has problems. Pipe is loose, screws are loose, something is stuck, plating is dented, wires burnt out. That doesn't belong there. Crowbar, wire cutter. So we could use all the different tools, or we could, of course, grab our duct tape here. Which is a bit of wool, a bit of glue, and polyethylene. Yeah, like it's looking like we have to do that. Okay, we have 1 piece of duct tape. I don't know whether this will work, but let's find out. So, clean that up. Now, okay, so that's just used up the duct tape. Now, oh, that fixed all of the problems. Perfect. So now the next step. So we've got our electric blast furnace. The next step is we want to actually make aluminium ingots. So let's have a quick look here. So blast furnace, we need aluminium dust and a integrated circuit. That's interesting. Okay, so aluminium dust is easy. We've got plenty of these different ores, but more likely what we can do is we can centrifuge. Well, we can centrifuge some various different things, but we can also electrolyze. And one of the things that we can electrolyze is either clay dust or mica. Let's have another quick look here. So clay dust in the is an MBT. Yep, cool. So somewhere around here, let's take another quick look at mica dust. And so mica dust in a electrolyzer is also MBT. Give me a second while I have a quick look around and find our aluminium dust that we can do at LV. Oops, at LV tier. So we can do the various gemstones. I So we can do like the sapphires and such. I think that's probably going to be the easiest option. Yeah, let me have a little bit of a look through JEI and I'll get back to you in just a sec. Actually, the other option is there is aluminium in the overworld. So let me go doing a bit of exploring, seeing if I can find any. Oh, and what do you know? We've got a whole lot of aluminium just sitting here in our chest here. So it turns out we have already had a fair bit of aluminium. Now the quickest option, I see it can't be smelted directly. So I think what we are going to have to do is we are going to have to run it through the pulverizer in order to get crushed aluminium ore, which then gets run again through the pulverizer to get the impure piles, which can then be centrifuged to get our aluminium dust. So give me a little while to do those processes so that we can get our first aluminium up and running. And there we go, a full stack of impure piles, which in the centrifuge will give us a full stack of aluminium dust, plus some bauxite dust, which I am not quite sure on the current use, but I could always electrolyze it into some more aluminium and rutile. But for the time being, we can throw this aluminium dust into our blast furnace with copper nickel. Oh, and sorry, we need a integrated circuit set to configuration 1. And here we go. If we throw in our integrated circuit, I just saw one of the aluminium dust go through. Machine needs more energy. It's complaining, probably because we've got these other machines running as well. What we might do is we might pause the centrifuge, because I think that's the only thing currently actually doing anything. And that should hopefully then mean that we've got enough power coming in for this to be happy. Although max EU per tick is 128, we've only got substantially less than that on this line. So I will make some more steam turbines as well, and we can put a couple of them back here as well, which should then mean that we're feeding plenty of energy into the blast furnace. But as it is, I would hope that it is actually running, just possibly a bit slower than it is meant to be. I don't know. Well, it still says it's only at like 10 seconds, so I don't know if that time in a bottle is actually going to help at all. I might go quickly craft up a few more steam turbines to see if we can improve this power. Okay, and it looks like we're at least making progress this time, even though it's complaining that it still doesn't have enough energy. And I notice it says EUT 120 EU per tick, suggesting that possibly it's not overly happy. It keeps ticking forwards and backwards, but it is at least going into the positive. Possibly one thing I could do temporarily would be to grab this steam turbine, pump it in more directly as well, which hopefully will then give it just that little tick more power. Still says 120, and it's still ticking up and down. Although it does feel like it's ticking up and down, not quite as frequently. Now, I'm not sure, will time in a bottle work? No, the progress is clearly going down, probably because we're not supplying it enough power for that increased speed. So I'll be back in a moment once we have finished crafting at least a little bit of aluminium. And we are finally getting into the high 90s. Perfect. Now let's throw one more piece of aluminium dust in there. Currently no problems found, but it possibly will get to a point where it's going to start complaining about power and struggling again. But either way, we've got our first aluminium ingot there. There we go. Machine needs more power. Got to like 25%, and now it's toggling. Even though I've moved the the fourth steam turbine over to here as well. The way I figure, so both of these are making 32. This one is making 31, that's getting to that wire, and then this one here is making 32, 31, 30, 29, 28. So that, if that one was even one block closer, we probably would actually be able to feed this properly. I could always potentially just move it to over here, and then that would get the blast furnace to stop complaining. That said, all the machines over this side are going to be a bit starved just because of how far they are from the sources. So I'm going to have to make some more steam turbines between episodes anyway, but we've got our first aluminium ingot, which is going to allow us to then progress into the MV age, which starts off with needing the aluminium ingot. And we get a few aluminium dust from both sides of this quest, so that is looking promising. We can start on the MV age, and then we can work on getting maybe some of the MV power sources and look to improve our blast furnace, and also look to work towards getting the electronic processor, but that is going to have a number of steps leading up to it based on what this is showing anyway. But that, working on the MVH is something we're going to have to do in the next episode. Once we have MV up and running, we'll also probably look at getting our gold line up and running as well. But that's what we're going to have to do next episode. Thank you for watching. Stay happy and healthy, and I hope to see you in the next one.